When a farmer finds strange black eggs on his farm, he wonders what animal might have laid them. He begins to keep an eye on them, and when they hatch, he is so surprised that he starts crying. Farmer Tom had always dreamed of running a successful egg business. His farm, nestled in a quaint valley in Georgia, had been in the family for generations. However, recent years had not been kind to him. The once thriving farm now struggled to make ends meet. Rising food costs, increased competition, and a decline in demand for his traditional brown and white eggs had all taken their toll. So when he unexpectedly stumbled across a dozen black eggs scattered around his farm, he was so surprised he remained frozen in his spot for a good 10 minutes. He had never seen or even heard about eggs like these. None of his chickens had ever laid something similar. He wondered for a brief moment if he was looking at snake eggs and looked around carefully, searching for slithering animals among the tall grass. However, it seemed that whatever had laid those eggs had left them behind. Farmer Tom didn't know what to think. On the one hand, those odd eggs might reveal scary creatures he would later have to fight to get out of his house. But on the other hand, they could be exactly what his farm needed to prosper again. People might be willing to pay more for those eggs if it meant giving a fun twist to their omelets. And perhaps they might pay more for the chicken meat as well, especially around holidays such as Halloween. He could become rich if those eggs hatched more black chicks, that is, unless someone else came to claim them before he did. Tom was not a thief, but those eggs were legally on his property, and he was simply too curious to leave them out in the open for everyone else to see. So he muttered a quick sorry to whatever creature had laid them and started loading them onto his truck. He would put them in an incubator he kept at the farm and wait for them to hatch and reveal the surprise inside. In the following days, Tom monitored the eggs closely and adjusted the temperature and humidity levels with precision, so they mirrored the warmth the eggs could get from a mother hen. Every morning he would check on them, and his heart lifted at the sight of the smooth black shells still intact. He dared to dream about the strange creatures that would soon emerge from them. Would they be completely black as well? In his quiet moments, Tom imagined the flurry of interest these rare eggs could generate. He envisioned buyers flocking to his farm, each eager to pay top dollar to see completely black chickens. But despite his excitement, Tom remained cautious. He knew that there was still a long way to go before the eggs hatched. The days turned into weeks as Tom anxiously awaited the hatching of the black eggs. The expected hatching date came and went without any signs of life. Each day, Tom checked the incubator, desperately hoping to see cracks in the shells or hear the faint peeping of chicks. But the eggs remained still and silent, as if their black shells mocked his hopes. Tension built within Tom as the days continued to pass without any change. The longer he waited, the more he began to doubt himself. Had he made a mistake bringing those eggs inside? What if they did not belong to chickens after all? Was he putting the entire farm in danger? Doubt crept in and gnawed at his confidence. Tom's daily routine had become a relentless cycle of care and worry. He woke before dawn and started his day by checking the temperature and humidity levels in the incubator. Despite his growing anxiety, he tried to remain hopeful. He convinced himself that those eggs were a gift from fate and not a bad omen. After tending to the eggs, Tom moved on to the rest of his chores. He fed and watered his chickens, cleaned the coops, and collected the regular brown and white eggs. The farm was still struggling, and the demands of maintaining it weighed heavily on his shoulders. Each task seemed more arduous, and his worry over the black eggs cast a shadow over everything he did. One chilly morning, Tom woke up feeling unusually weak. His head throbbed and his body ached with fever. He tried to push through the discomfort, but it quickly became clear that he was too ill to carry out his daily tasks. The relentless worry and sleepless nights had taken their toll, leaving him bedridden and unable to care for the farm. Days turned into a blur as Tom lay in bed, his mind foggy with fever. The farm, once bustling with activity, began to show signs of neglect. Weeds grew unchecked, the chicken coops became dirty, and the feed bins started to run low. The regular egg production dwindled as Tom's absence took its toll on the animals. The tight-knit community around Tom's farm began to notice the changes. Neighbors whispered among themselves, concerned about the once thriving farm now falling into disrepair. Jake, Tom's longtime friend and neighbor, was the first to take action. He decided to check on the farm and see if Tom needed any help. As he approached the farmhouse, he saw the signs of neglect and knew something was seriously wrong. Jake knocked on the door and found Tom in a weak state, barely able to get out of bed. Realizing the severity of the situation, Jake quickly took charge. He assured Tom that he would take care of the farm while he recovered and urged Tom to rest and regain his strength. Jake threw himself into the work. He tended to the chickens, cleaned the coops, and made sure the animals were fed. He even reached out to other neighbors and asked for their help to keep the farm running. However, in his weakened state, the farmer forgot to tell his friends about the mysterious eggs in the incubator, and soon enough, Jake and the other neighbors would get the surprise of their lives. One evening, as Jake was finishing up the day's chores, he heard a faint peeping sound coming from the chicken coop. His heart skipped a beat as he hurried inside with a flashlight in hand. He scanned the rows of nests as the sound grew louder. Finally, he reached the incubator and saw movement inside one of the black eggs. He was shocked at the sight and wondered where on earth Tom had found such strange eggs. Jake rushed back to the farmhouse to tell his friend that the mysterious eggs in his incubator were hatching. Just what exactly was inside of them? Tom only shook his head, telling his friend that he didn't know yet. But despite his weakened state, his eyes lit up with hope. Perhaps this was going to be the turning point he needed. As he recuperated, he told Jake everything about the strange black eggs, from the discovery to the sleepless nights he'd spent worrying that they would spell doom for his farm. He was grateful to have friends around now that the eggs were finally hatching. If something bad came out of it, they would help him get rid of it. But if something special hatched from them, then they would all share in his joy. 2 days later, Tom was well enough to get out of bed. He and Jake knelt by the incubator, their faces inches from the hatching eggs. Then the first chick emerged. Both men let out a sigh of relief when they realized that the animals inside the eggs were indeed birds. Tell us about it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. For now, though, we're out of here. Catch you in the next video.